Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 57 today for the beginning of Season 4 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And I'm so excited to finally begin this season because this is set to be a truly iconic and special season because we have one of the icon drivers as our teammate for this one. Jenson Button is returning to Formula 1. He is our teammate. And if you guys did miss the pre-season episode uploaded over the last weekend, then please be sure to go check that one out because you'll be clued into the entire arrangement for this season, all the new driver transfers, the new car liveries for certain teams, including the Golf McLaren, the Red Bull Infinity livery, and a very different AlphaTauri as well. And of course, you'll be clued in the entire story of signing Jenson Button to the team. He is a co-owner for this season as we are renamed to aarava Jenson RGN for short on the top right there. You can see this snazzy new overall, Sky being the main sponsor, seeing as Jenson in real life is obviously working at Sky Sports Formula 1, and I'm so raring to go. We've got a modern day Brawn GP livery, and Jenson on his return to Formula 1 here in-game is 100 rated with 75 focus, so I'm hoping he's going to be off the mark, off the blocks very, very quickly indeed. But of course, you can't blame him if he's got to try and dust off some cobwebs initially at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But this is so exciting as well because the entire grid is so close. Most of the teams here, I think, are either near enough or are maxed out in terms of their performances. We've got Alfa Romeo and Haas, the only teams trying to catch back up. But I think the rest of this arrangement are all the teams maxed out pretty much. So every single circuit, the pace, the pecking order, it's going to be basically determined by what car suits different circuits with characteristics, of course, just like in real life we see. And then, of course, the in-game mechanics of how good the AI are in terms of momentum, focus, and all of that. So it's going to be, the form guide is well and truly out the window, kind of like it almost was a lot of the time last season. It was very hard to analyze, going into every single episode, trying to, let you guys know maybe what to expect. But we head into then the race weekend, of course, because there's not too much admin to do because we did all of that in the pre-season episode, so it means we can dive straight into the racing action for the Bahrain GP, and we start off here with Saturday in qualifying, of course. And as I said, it's going to be just, very intriguing to see how everything shapes up, but the first time we're seeing these cars out on track, that I gotta say, that Infinity Red Bull, it just has so much nostalgia for me. It looks gorgeous out there under the floodlights of Bahrain, and it's at the hands of, my two ex-teammates, Perez and Schumacher. Like, that is such a storm of a team, Those two did so well in Season 2. But then you've also got, obviously, Mercedes with Verstappen and Hamilton now at the helm. Verstappen, that Merc's going to be very exciting, I hope. And then AlphaTauri, well, they've gone from strength to strength. They won a race with Gasly last season, so, a new look for them this year. So, don't know what's going to happen with them. It's very hard to call because of those maxed out cars. And then, obviously, the reigning world champion Lando Norris, the man who beat me in the finale of Season 3 in the Golf McLaren. And it's going to be really intriguing to see what happens to the likes of Alpine, because we've seen Williams have now closed up in the R&D chart. So will Williams be stealing Alpine's kind of, glory of kind of punching above their weight maybe and annoying the kind of quote-unquote established top teams? And then you've got Jenson in the other side of the garage, of course. I'm so excited to see what he could do. But for us then in Q1, just about getting through, a bit of a formality hopefully obviously for us, but there we go, Jenson Button at the top of the timesheet in Q1. Very strong showing, but look at that, Verstappen up there in the Mercedes car, Leclerc there as well, so there's hope for Mercedes that Verstappen will be the man to take them back to the top and fighting for consistent podiums and maybe race wins. You've got Red Bull up there though with AlphaTauri as well though, Gasly splitting the two Red Bull cars. And then, like I alluded to, McLaren on the back foot a little bit. They were at the end of the season last year, and they begin it here, so maybe in Q1. And then, like I alluded to, Alpine and Williams entangled together in maybe a battle this season. But now we get into Q2. This is where we start to shake out a little bit, what the true pace is like. Q1 is very, you can't really go off that at all because the track is still getting quicker. For whatever reason, sometimes the AI, sometimes don't put their best laps in Q1, kind of almost like I do. I never put my best laps in Q1, so trying to find a groove now with this car when it matters most to get into the top 10 shootout. And this year, I'm not making any mistake of, I'm not going to assume I'm going to get into Q3 every time, because it's so tight. Everything's separated by, 2-3 tenths, which is sometimes the amount of time I lose on a lap to my teammates in the past. But Q2, very interesting set of results. Ricciardo's quickest, Verstappen up there with Gasly. Lando Norris is knocked out along with Leclerc, and Lando actually was out-qualified by Bottas in the Williams car. Both Alpines are out. Myself and Jenson just about make it through. I mean, you can see how close it is to the drop zone there. Both Mercs are through. Hamilton gets through by the skin of his teeth there, and the two Red Bulls, and Carlos Sainz is the lead Ferrari then. So very interesting. I don't know where that time's come from, Ricciardo, and then it actually might end up, being the ridiculous way Bahrain is with the strategy in the tyre wear. Leclerc and Lando Norris there in the Ferrari and McLaren respectively, they actually may be in a better position than some of us in the top 10 shootout. So it's actually maybe not a howler, but it is a very shocking thing to see such disparity between the two McLarens. Especially for McLaren, we've seen a yo-yo of, it was Lando in season 1 being the better driver, then Ricciardo season 2, Lando season 3. So is it Ricciardo's turn to be the lead McLaren randomly this season, despite the fact that Lando is the reigning world champion? I don't know. That momentum maybe doesn't count for too much there. And Ferrari, well, one of them's out, one of them's through. Is it going to be another season of frustration where they're just not maxing out their potential? And it looks like, Merc have chosen wisely. Both Verstappen and Hamilton are through. So that looking like it's working so far. So good right now on Saturday. But let's go into then the top 10 shootout. This is where it really matters. And the end of last season, season 3, Red Bull were looking so strong in this part of qualifying. They were really turning up the wick. We saw Verstappen and Alonso, consistently on the second or first row. So let's see if Schumacher and Perez can emulate that now, respectively, in the new Red Bull for season 4. Here we go. Schumacher on provisional pole. Tsunoda ahead of Ricciardo right now. So Tsunoda doing quite well in the AlphaTauri. Ricciardo not emulating what he could do in Q2 for us. So let's see across the line DRS, and it's P3 there, 7 tenths or more off pole position though. Button ahead of me, ahead of Gasly then, so we've got some work to do. We go purple in the first sector, green in the second, losing some time a little bit, but then gaining it back through that right-hander, and then we're gaining time all the way down this straight, so finding a bit more speed, maybe the track dripping up through the final corner, a little bit of understeer there, and then oversteer for good measure, but we're going to gain just under half a second across the line, up to what will eventually be P5 then, but it is the two Red Bulls. Red Bull carry over that performance they had at the end of season 3. Shouldn't actually be that surprising considering everything stayed the same in terms of the R&D charts, because everyone, adapted the parts from the regulation change, but it's still, crazy to see to me my two former teammates, Schumacher and Perez, so ominous, locking out the front row. Verstappen showing that Mercedes have chosen wisely to sign him, as he does a brilliant job. And Jenson Button, he was never known for being a qualifier, Jenson was, but he's out-qualified me here today, but not by too much there, so I'm quite happy still with my my performance, considering I did feel a bit of understeer. Gasly and Tsunoda, a very solid showing for AlphaTauri there. Hamilton showing, yeah, that's pretty good, P7 there. He was never anywhere near P7 throughout the entirety of Season 3, and then, well, Ferrari and McLaren will be very upset with that. I don't know what happened to Sainz and Ricciardo, especially Sainz, because he was looking actually quite quick in the previous session, so they're going to have to do some homework in the race. I really thought Ferrari were going to be, one of the dark horses for this season. Obviously, they could still be there, still be a dark horse from P9. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Obviously, the race strategy will come into play, the 2-stop v the 1-stop. Let's go to the grid then for the very first race of this season.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Mick Schumacher lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Button, the owner driver, and Gasly, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Sainz, and Daniel Ricciardo, Leclerc, Bottas, Lando Norris, and Russell, Ocon, Joe, Antonio Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll, Latifi, Eilert, Matsushita and Christian Lundgaard. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Well, I, for one, am very excited for this race to begin. We've got Jenson Button returning to Formula One, his second debut in the sport, and he is on the second row. We are on the third, just behind him there, and Verstappen, the two Red Bulls, my former teammates, locking out the front row. This is going to be very interesting. We've also got this dynamic at Bahrain every single season where we're all on a two-stop because we have to be on the soft compound tyre. The guys behind us outside the top 10 will be able to do a one-stop from the medium to the hard compound tyre, and that will give them some massive track position. So this is going to be, as always, a bit of a cluster in terms of the midway through this race of, you know, people trying to get through slower cars and traffic on hard tyres. With that strategy mess and also how close every single car is now this season, honestly, the top 15 all have a chance to win this race, maybe potentially, and that is massively exciting. So here we go, the beginning of Season 4, an iconic season is about to begin, and I hope we can have a good one on Jenson Button's return as we go to 5 red lights to the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we're underway, and it's a great start for us and also Jenson as well. Either side of Verstappen, Perez into turn 1, trying to take the lead from his teammate Mick Schumacher into turn 1, trying to jockey for position. Easy does it. The rear end steps out and makes some contact even with Verstappen as we just couldn't get any grip on the outside of turn 1. Verstappen and Button maybe fighting. Verstappen around the outside trying to go the long way around, and Jenson struggling a little bit for grip. Verstappen wrestling the wheel of his new silver Mercedes round the outside. He goes and he's side by side with Jenson Button that entire section. Meanwhile, you got Perez out in the lead now. He's overtaken Schumacher, and the two Red Bulls are probably loving this because they've already, Verstappen and Button have already lost 1.5 seconds to them already. Christian Horner is loving life. Meanwhile, we're still watching this battle go on between Verstappen and Button. Literally the definition of the new gen versus the old gen. And right now at the moment, the 2009 world champion holding on for P3 for dear life, but Verstappen is making it very difficult, and they're still going at it. This is unbelievable. Pretty much the entire lap they've been side by side, and now we have joined the party. Can we overtake Verstappen and hopefully try and block him off a little bit from Jenson, and then kind of both get away from him into the last corner, roll the car through on the inside there, use Button as a bit of a tow then as we enter the new lap number 2, and we're up into P4. Verstappen's going to have to settle for P5 and try and come back at us later on because we're going to hold that position into turn 1. So yeah, it's Perez from Schumacher, Button, myself, Verstappen, Tsunoda ahead of Gasly at the moment. Hamilton, Sainz and Ricciardo is your top 10, but this man must be loving it. Sergio Perez took a sabbatical last season after he declined to re-sign for our team in Season 3, and he's come back to Formula 1 and he's leading a race for his old team Red Bull Racing. And then Mick Schumacher, what a combo this might be for this season. Meanwhile, their sister team AlphaTauri, a new look for them. Yuki Tsunoda ahead of Gasly at the moment, doing really well, the Japanese driver. Hamilton in a tight battle with Sainz, Ricciardo and Lando Norris there in the background as well. The McLarens, their new Golf Livery livery, and Lando, obviously, remember, on the one-stop strategy, along with Leclerc. I think those two could be a big, big contender for the race win. Maybe he's Verstappen's going slow! Verstappen's slow! And has he got a problem there? Yes, he pulls alongside and the engine goes up in flames and smokes. It was going so well for him on his debut for the Silver Arrows, but it's ended in tragedy. And Mercedes Toto Wolff, he's going to be banging that table with his fist so damn hard, because that is an opportunity missed for this race, because Verstappen genuinely looked very quick and dangerous there, did so well in qualifying, was there in the top 5, and the safety car is out for the first time in Season 4 as the FI think that he's parked up in a bit of a dangerous spot. So this is now actually very awkward for everyone, but especially ourselves and Red Bull, because we both got 2 drivers here in unison, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, you'd want to make a pit stop under this safety car because the soft compounded tyre generally doesn't go very long, especially for the 2 stop. This is a free pit stop. So I wonder what Red Bull are going to do. Is Jenson going to come in? And if he does, I don't think we should double stack. So we're going to go out and continue, because the double stack is going to lose us even more time. Maybe. I've continued on. Schumacher has as well. So both of us are going to stick this one out. And, well, I don't really know what the plan is going to be. I think maybe trying to stretch this soft compound, because we can't pit now. No, you know, we're going to catch the safety car now, so we can't pit under the safety car anymore because we'll lose even more time. So basically, myself and Schumacher have committed to going on further into this race on these soft tyres. Whether this is the right call or not, I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble for both of us. You know, both me and him gambled quite a few times last season as teammates, so let's see if this one pans out for us. But this is a bit of an awkward safety car for sure for everyone involved. So already some big decisions having to be made in this season, and now we've got a very interesting restart with Mick Schumacher. He's in a different team now. We were always a really great partnership. No, you know, there was no bad blood or anything. We were a great team last season. So hopefully this will be nice and respectful as we go on for the restart. And Schumacher actually does me. He gets the jump on me. I was caught napping a little bit. Wasn't ready for when he was going to accelerate. And he's up and staying in first place. We're nowhere near him. We can't make a dive bomb into turn 1. We'll close up there. And like I said, on the top left, look at that. Norris, Bottas and Leclerc. You know, those guys on the mediums, they're in a very good spot right now for the kind of top spots once myself and Schumacher have to make a pit stop. And that was Carlos Sainz there, retiring out of the Grand Prix. I think he's been in an incident on the restart there. So Ferrari, they've only got 1 car in it now. As we move on to the next lap, though, we are fighting for the race lead here, maybe. Schumacher, will he go defensive to the inside? Yes, he does. We fake to the right, go to the left-hand side. Aggressive little move on the outside there. Schumacher, though, does really well, and the rear end is stepping out a little bit. We can't get the power out. We made contact with Schumacher. This is the kind of fault we never saw with Mick last season, but the gloves are off now into the next right-hander. Easy does it. It's going to be so close, but we've got the better grip, it would seem. And Schumacher down to P2. We've taken the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and that contact, well, I didn't mean to do that, to be honest. Just the rear end stepping out as the tyre wear kicks in a little bit. But on lap 9, Schumacher has pit in. We are continuing on, because the only way I see of staying competitive in this race is trying to do the most audacious one-stop ever around Bahrain from soft to medium. But we've got Lando Norris and all the others behind me attacking me now on the medium compounded tyre. We do really well to defend against Norris there, squeeze him in onto the right-hand side, and they're able to open up the rest of that section and remain in first place. But Lando in P2, Bottas in third place, and the Williams actually looking very tasty. He's still ahead of the Ferrari this entire time. You know, you can't think of Williams now this season as a backmarker team, because they've maxed out their car, I think, or near enough, and they're there with everyone. So Bottas are legitimately there in third place there. Leclerc fourth, Russell, Giovinazzi, Guan Yu Zhou, Ocon, all of them on medium tyres, down to Sergio Perez in P9. So our job right now, we're going to convert ourselves to a 1-stop, soft to medium. I've got to pit around lap, you know, I would say 13 or 14. So my job here is to just try and do the best job I can at holding them all up, because I'm going to help out Jenson potentially as well, as he makes a lovely little move on Lundgaard there up into P12, because, you know, the more I back them up, the closer Jenson will be to them. But also for my sake, I need to hold them up, because I'm racing them. I'm racing Lando, Valtteri Bottas, Leclerc, Russell directly, because we've all now got 1 stop left in this race, because I'm only going to do 1 more stop. So we need to hold them up. You know, there's no way I'm going to jump them back with 1 less pit stop or, you know, whatever. So I'm literally racing them for position for the rest of this race now, as we now watch on a massive gaggle and fight here between Gasly, Hamilton, Ilott and Matsushita. Really nice to see so many different cars close together in one race, and Hamilton and Gasly doing battle. Gasly and Hamilton making it 3 wide nearly. Not quite, as Ilott's able to maintain the racing line into turn 1. Those guys really nose to tail, but you know, those guys, they were on the softs and they've pit for that first pit stop onto mediums. This is kind of where we would have been. We would have been around where Jenson was in the traffic, but even worse actually, because remember, we would have double stacked, so we would have been where Mick is actually. We would have been where Mick is if we stayed on the 2-stop, because he's now on the soft compound trying to make a 2-stop work, having not pit under that safety car. Just never going to work. Meanwhile, for me, I'm trying my best to now make this new 1-stop work, but Lando has got ahead of me there. He's overtaken us. Maybe go for the switchback. He's gone too hot into the left-hander, and he's made a mistake. He's been too eager, and we're just patient enough to go down the inside. You can see, though, my car is wobbling about, because, especially on that right-hander, I can't go flat like you usually do, because the rear tyres are screaming out and almost trying to spin me out there, and that corner. But Lando making mistakes not only on that lap, but the next lap as well, as he's gone wide, and Bottas in the Williams is going for the move for P2. Valtteri Bottas in his new team, his old one that he began Formula 1 with. He's almost got 2nd place. Lando just about maintained track position there, but the Williams is going for it. This is fantastic to see. This is so heartwarming to see. After so long, we're seeing Williams at the top, kind of fighting away for what is right now obviously early days, but P3, a podium position right now, and he's kept a Ferrari at bay the whole time. Then you got Russell, Giovinazzi, Guan Yu Zhou, Ocon, all on mediums, and then Perez is there. This is the first time we've seen Perez close to one of these guys, so this is where the overtaking begins for Perez, and then hopefully eventually will happen for Tsunoda, and more importantly, Jenson Button in the background there. But Perez actually unable to overtake Ocon there, being held up a little bit. There is Tsunoda, and then Jenson Button is behind in clean air there, so he's actually been jumped by Tsunoda. Tsunoda has jumped Jenson somehow, and then it's 3 abreast into turn 1, and it's a great battle between the other AlphaTauri, Gasly, and then Lewis Hamilton. Gasly round the outside. Those two have been racing each other pretty much for the entire race then, since the pit stop. Schumacher behind on the soft compound on that 2-stop, trying to get past the Haas. Can't do so as easily because the field spread's a lot closer this year, so it's going to be harder to overtake these guys. But saying that, Schumacher, oh my word, what an overtake! What an overtake on the inside, down the crest. What a move by Schumacher. Maybe heard me in the commentary box and did something about it. He's up into P18, and now he needs to try and get on and overtake Hamilton and Gasly. He's kind of on the same strategy, but he's on a different race. He's on the soft compound, so he needs to make use of it. Speaking of the soft compound, we're going to get rid of it now on lap 13. Like I said, we've done well to stretch it to lap 13. That's a lot of laps on this soft compound. Probably, you know, a good 5 or 6 more than usually you would do. And the pace has not been great, but I've done really well to at least hold them up on track there. And now we make a pit stop onto mediums, whereas everyone else joins me into the pit stops. I didn't see that. Everyone else came in as well. Then onto the hard compound tyres. So you're seeing I'm doing a very aggressive gamble of a strategy here, but I genuinely think this is the only way to stay ahead. I think we need this medium tyre advantage. If I'm on the hard, I think Lando especially, but maybe the other guys as well, have a bit more pace on the hard compound tyre. And just generally speaking, obviously you guys know I'm not a massive fan of the hard tyre on the game, so I'd rather try and stick this out on the medium and see what's what. The next lap then, though, Perez leads the way once again. Tsunoda, Button in P3, Gasly P4 has gone away from Hamilton, and Schumacher is now closing up and is indeed going to go for that move, like I said, on Hamilton. He needs to do this to give him any sort of chance to really come back at these guys a little bit, and he does make the move. Meanwhile, we are going defensive because Norris is coming right round our outside, and he's actually done us on under braking. What a move there by the Brit in the McLaren, but when we come back at him, we've got no DRS, but we've got plenty of ERS in the tank, and we're going to make a ballsy move round the outside really late on the brakes, and then we've got the grip, the better grip on the medium tyre in the middle of the corner to get the move back there. But in a straight line, I can't help the McLaren being so damn quick and Lando being so good under brakes. But now lap 18, we're back into the lead of this Grand Prix, of course, because Perez there has pit now for the second pit stop, as well as Tsunoda. Button's jumped Tsunoda, though, in the second round of pit stop, so that's really good for us. He's up into P10 then, so that's good news for the team. I don't actually know in the first place how Tsunoda jumped him. It must have just been in the pit lane then, so really great work from Button to be back up into P10. He's now looking to make a move on the Giovinazzi, the Alfa Romeo, who's just been squeezed out so much by Ocon there. So now can Jenson go round the outside? Oh, it's a bit of a darting move. You saw that wiggle on the front of his car there, trying to catch the car almost, and he darted out the way, and he's made a sensational overtake up into P9 and gets going to get up into P8 then on Ocon. So Jenson Button on a charge right now in P8 then. Meanwhile, we're in the lead trying to keep Lando Norris at bay, and then Perez, he's making moves. He's already made a move on Leclerc and these guys, but Leclerc comes back at him, and Perez, I think he's got damage, I think that is, as Leclerc is back up into P5. Jenson making a move on the Williams, and Perez is in. Perez is in. It's a shocker for him and Red Bull, as he has damage. So it's an extra pit stop for him, and he must have got that off the Ferrari, I'm guessing. So it's a good free position then for him, and he'll surely get onto the back of Guan Yu Zhou and Leclerc pretty rapidly then, and look on to try and chase after that gap to Russell, Bottas, and then Lando in second place, 1.1 away from me. So we're doing quite well to keep him at an arm's length. He's keeping us honest, but we've got him under control. But now the safety car is out for the second time on lap 23, because Christian Lundgaard has made he's crashed into the Alfa Romeo. Latifi was going very slow for some reason. I wonder if he was retiring or something from this Grand Prix, but Lundgaard, ironically, is the one that comes off worse, and so this safety car is out. So this is going to change everything, because it's out there in the background there. We've not caught it yet, so everyone will bunch up together, and Button's overtaken Leclerc and Guan Yu Zhou already, I guess just before the safety car came out. So Jenson up into P5 then, but this is now going to bunch us all up together, so this gives him a really good chance of using that medium compounder tyre on the two-stop to try and cut his way through. Meanwhile, the opposite side of the spectrum, I'm using the medium compound to, well, I'm trying to keep the life in it and trying to hang on to this whilst not wearing out the tyres too much. Right now doing some very aggressive tyre heating to make sure those internal temperatures are warm, and also wanting to try and get the jump on Norris, because I know that McLaren is so quick. And there we go, and we've got the jump. We've caught Norris napping. What a great restart. That was the perfect restart, and it's left Lando desperate for a long-range slipstream tow into turn one. We're going to take the racing line back. Easy does it, but he goes for the dive bomb, and he's made contact with us. He's round, and Russell and Jenson are through. There's a further bit of contact with the AlphaTauri, I think, of Yuki Tsunoda, and George Russell is up into P2, Jenson Button up into P3. It's all kicked off here as Lando Norris has broken his front wing. He's been spun around on my rear end there, and it's completely turned this race on its head. Russell in the Alpine is now in P2. What a glorious position for him. Jenson's up into P3, Leclerc P4, Guan Yu Zhou is now the lead Williams, because Bottas got caught up in that. But let's look at a replay then and see what went on, because that was, well, it looked like, from my POV, the craziest, most outlandish dive bomb that was just never going to work. From his onboard, you can see what a great restart we had, and then into turn one, we take the racing line, and then he accelerates in the brake zone and just tries to go down on the inside when it just wasn't on, and oh my goodness me, that POV seeing the Alpha Tower. What's the Alpha Tauri doing? Yuki Tsunoda just plowed into turn 1, cut the corner and all, and just smashed into the McLaren there. I think Yuki was actually retiring already whilst hitting Lando, but here is the dive bomb there. For me, that just was never going to work. But then look at the right-hand side. Yeah, Tsunoda's smoking already. Tsunoda's AI, he's already retiring out this race, and his AI cuts the corner to retire and park the car, and in doing so, smashes into Norris. I mean, to be honest, Norris is lucky he's not out the race, but he's got front wing damage and will definitely be out the points now. And then look at this, our teammate, Jenson Button, very lucky. Russell as well, as they just about, I mean, Russell, wow, he got very lucky, just about avoided the back end of the McLaren. And then Hamilton, he's got damage. He just got so unlucky with the kind of domino effect there and got some damage off Gasly, whilst Ricciardo also tries to get through. A lot of debris there. And then this is the onboard from Yuki Tsunoda. He's already retiring. You can hear it on the engine. The engine's failing and smoking already. And his AI just, you know, automatically on autopilot just cuts the corner, trying to find this very spot to retire, and hits the Brit. Absolutely bonkers, crazy scenes here in Sakir. So here we are then, back to the live action. Lap 26 onto 27, 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Jenson Button is looking quite quick here. Russell susceptible. Could this be a 1-2 for the new aarava Jenson RGN team? Button around the outside. Russell tries to defend, and the two Brits making a little bit of contact there, but the older guard will have it. He's up into P2. Outstanding.
It looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there. We're attempting to manage it.
What? What? No. No, come on. It's going so well. We just got the 1-2. You can't be doing this. We've got an engine issue, maybe. Our team, I don't know what's going to go on. Our engineers say we've got some sort of issue here.
There seems to be an issue with our ERS.
And it's the ERS. It's the ERS. We've had this before in the past, maybe, where the ERS just doesn't work. And there you go. Look at the bottom right. I can't click overtake. I can't click it. We're going to be losing so much power here. And that means, look at that on the right-hand side. Jenson Button goes through into the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. I can't believe what I'm witnessing. Could this be the fairy tale return to Formula 1 for Jenson? He's up into P1 now, and for us, well, I don't even know what the hell's going to happen to us, because look at that, the rear light is flashing, meaning we're not deploying ERS at all, because we're just constantly harvesting it. The car is stuck in harvest mode because it won't let me deploy any, and so we're going to be a sitting duck, surely, to Leclerc, and maybe even George Russell. Here goes the Ferrari. Leclerc up into P2. What a great day it's been for him, from, you know, being knocked out of Q2 into the top 2 here. Now Russell goes for a move. We defend against him as much as we can to maintain P3. We've got 2 laps to go, but when are we going to get ERS back? I think we're going to get it back now. Yes, we've got it back. We've got it back. We've got it back. It's never a permanent issue in the race. Remember back to, I think it was season 2 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. We had it for about 2 or 3 laps, and then we got it back later in the race. And just like Hungary, we've got it back here, but now is it a little too late? We're still in P3, so we can hold that down with ERS, but can we get the Ferrari? We've got some pace on these mediums, remember. We're closing up to Leclerc. Those hard tyres are so slow, but the Ferrari is pretty damn decent in acceleration terms. And remember, our medium tyres, even though they've got this speed, the tyre wear would have kicked in by now, and they will be a bit worn out, so that's maybe why we can't get the acceleration jump. But mid-corner, you can see the grip we've got, and also once we're deploying ERS, I think we've got a much better power unit underneath us, of course, in the Mercedes versus the Ferrari, but we just can't make anything work. We're almost pushing Leclerc through into the hairpin, but it's just going to be so tight. We've got 1 sector to go. We can't make a move here. It's so difficult to just slow down the car, let alone make a move there. 1 sector to go. Can we do this? Can we try and pull this back for at least the 2nd place to make it a 1-2 for our team once again? Meanwhile, though, I still can't believe what the hell is happening here. On his return to Formula 1, it's going to be the fairy tale return. Jenson Button is coming through to the last corner of the Bahrain Grand Prix to win his first race back as we go for the move on Leclerc. On the outside, we've gone for it and we've got it. Round the outside, we've made it a 1-2. But Jenson Button is the victor today at Bahrain. What a comeback!
Yeah! Oh, that feels so good! Fantastic job. Congratulations to everyone. This is a great way to start the year. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
It wasn't always plain sailing today, but a very important win nonetheless. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
Here comes your top three making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One.
I can't actually believe what I'm watching here. I can't believe it. I was hoping for a good result for Jenson Button on his return to Formula One in this episode. I never imagined the win because it didn't look like he was anywhere near the win. But that issue for us, the ERS issue, I cannot believe a random failure has occurred to us in the last 3 laps like that. I mean, to be fair to us, remember Season 2, we DNF'd out the whole race on the first race. So it could have been a lot worse, actually. We could have DNF'd. So thankfully, it was just an ERS issue, and we were able to come back for P2, but I can't believe it. I mean, I'm gutted for myself, but what a fairy tale story that is. On his return to the sport, he wins. Oh my days. What? And what a mad race and set of results. The reigning world champion makes a howler of a mistake, spins round at turn 1. You've got Williams scoring massive points with 14 there. They're ahead of Alpine, Red Bull, AlphaTauri, McLaren, Mercedes are at the bottom after Hamilton had a quiet race and Verstappen with the DNF. What a bonkers first race. This was such a classic first race of the season. Sort of the form guides out. Everyone's got issues of reliability here and there. Crashes, whatever. The cobwebs need to be taken off at the start of the year. What a mad race. Guys, if you did enjoy that one, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula One content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.